Hey, it's Mike from Go Cell Phone Repair, and today we're talking about phone insurance and whether or not that would be a good investment for you. So there's probably going to be a big push, if you haven't already heard about it, by Verizon, and I would eventually suspect that most other carriers will be doing the same thing. So you probably got a lot of money into your phone, whether you financed it or bought it outright. So is it a good idea for you to get some insurance to protect your investment against accidental damage, loss, theft, anything like that? Well, let's talk about it. All right, so for some reason, my sound is acting goofy today, and I hope that that is only on my end. If it sounds like something crazy is going on, let me know. Michael, how you doing? Need some help? Okay. So here's the thing. There's all sorts of information floating around out there right now about Verizon pushing a new plan for insurance, and it looks like they're going to be partnering with a repair company or an insurance company. And sometimes I'm really not clear on who we can call an insurance company or not, because there's a big difference between insurance and protection plans. But be that as it may, what it boils down to is that over time, at least historically, there's been an option almost since cell phones first hit the market for you to put some sort of protection on them in the way of an insurance or a protection agreement, so that if something happens to that phone, you don't just lose out on it, kind of like you would with anything else, whether it's a home or a car or a computer or something else that you own that you want to make sure that you can protect. So in the beginning, it's very interesting the way that it worked. I remember way back when people were paying about $5 a month for insurance. And I know that's going back a long time, so you can tell how old I am. And what we started to see a few years ago is that as the prices of phones increases and as the repair cost for phones increases, those insurance companies that were covering or offering those plans to their customers started to realize that they weren't going to be able to profit in the same way that they had historically, and in particular when it comes to something like an AMOLED screen. So if you got a Samsung Galaxy phone, if you could insure it for $5 a month, I would say do that, right away, assuming there's not some huge deductible that you have to pay. And that's kind of how it was a long time ago when people were carrying around little flip phones and slider phones and things like that. I think it kind of took some of these insurance companies by surprise because they continued to offer that option, and people were paying maybe $10 a month or something like that. And even with a $100 deductible, if you're talking about replacing a $300 screen, that's still a pretty good deal for you as a customer, assuming that accident or that loss or whatever it is going to happen. Now, when we talk about insurance, that's probably the first thing to think about. The first thing I recommend to most people is that take a look at the fine print, because a lot of times when you see something on the surface that sounds like a good deal, you really have to dig deep and educate yourself and make sure that you're getting what it sounds like you're getting. And if you've ever gone to a car dealer, there's a great example. If you look at the contracts for their protection plans, you have to be very careful. And I'm not knocking them across the board. I'm not going to say that it's never a good idea to protect your investment with some sort of agreement, whether it's through a protection membership or an insurance plan or something else like that. But before I jump into this fully, I want to give you a little background on this because, over time, I've kind of learned a lot about how protection plans and insurance policies work. And I think, we can all kind of assume that insurance companies are in business to generate a profit. So at the end of the day, they need to take in more money than they pay out. And that should be a no-brainer, right? Well, what you're probably wondering is, what are the odds of me being one of those people that gets paid out rather than just a person who's paying in, on a regular basis and not benefiting from that in some way? And of course, the whole idea behind that is that all of these funds that are coming in from various sources will be used to absorb any claims that are made by people who are unfortunate enough to break their screen or lose their phone or whatever. So I do want to tell you a little bit about that. And I also want to address the comment section real quick. Friends, thank you for coming on. I kind of want to save as many questions until the end of this as possible, or at least after the first segment. There's a good possibility that anyone who sees this live stream later on will want to get right down to the critical information, and then we can kind of open it up for questions. I hope that works for everyone out there. Michael, I'm gonna talk about yours real quick, and then I'm gonna again ask that everyone kind of hold most of their questions until at least after I get past this initial part. Yeah, the Galaxy Note 3 with Verizon, so I put a new screen on it. Will it hurt when I do a system update because it doesn't have the right screen on it? Oh, okay, so that's an easy one, I'm pretty sure, aka the one that comes with it. I would not expect any problems doing an update, 99% of the time when it comes to an Android device, at least up until this date in time. The only thing that we're really seeing problems with at the moment is people who are updating to iOS 11 who have aftermarket screens which use a particular IC on the flex cable that causes some problems with the update. So for you, I wouldn't worry about it. What's up, Beha? Good to see you. As far as yours, I would not expect to see any problems with an update. Now, I can't make any promises, but if it were me, I would have no problem updating the software on any Galaxy product and not worrying about that causing any issues with that part specifically. Now, anytime you do an update on a phone, you might find that you don't like something about that update later on. So my question is like, can I still roll it back? And in the case of Apple devices, that's one of the things where people kind of end up feeling trapped, because a lot of times once you upgrade, there's a very small window of opportunity to downgrade back to that old iOS, and then eventually Apple stops signing that, and you're stuck with whatever you have. So in your case, I probably wouldn't worry about it. And knock on wood, I've never seen that be a problem. Very rarely when you do an Android update does it do anything other than add some features and probably slow your phone down just a tiny bit. And that doesn't matter what type of phone, or really, whether it's a computer or an iPhone or anything else. Anytime you do an update, you're going to see a very small drop in performance. And over time, I see what happened with my sound there. Over time, your phone's going to seem way different than it was when you first bought it. But, that's almost unavoidable unless you have root or you've jailbroken your phone, because or you're very vigilant about not doing updates, but then you may miss out on some features or some security patches that you need. So I hope that answers your question. In a word, no, I don't think you have to worry about that. So getting back to the insurance thing, and Beha, feel free to chime in, because I'm sure you know a little bit about protection plans also. What we're talking about is the thing with Verizon here, and I wanted to go back just to kind of give some context so people can get an idea where I'm coming from on this. A long time ago, I worked in an office supply store, and no, I'm not going to name any names, but they're probably the only one left, if that helps. And we used to sell a protection plan, which is similar to, but different than insurance. You have to be very careful about those terms, apparently, especially in California. You cannot represent yourself as an insurance company unless you meet that criteria. But be that as it may, as far as the customer is concerned, we would offer these plans to protect their electronics. If they bought a camera or a laptop or anything else, based on the dollar amount, you would charge a percentage of that and say, would you like to buy this protection plan? Which, in one way I thought was pretty cool, because you pay for it once and that's it. If it's a $100 device, you pay $5 and you're covered for a year or 2 years or whatever it is. So it wasn't really a membership thing. It was like you paid for it and then you're good to go until whatever, probably until you're done with the device, really. Well, I learned some interesting things about that. Now, at one point we went to a meeting, and anyone who's listened to my podcast, you may have heard the story already, so please bear with me. I do want to repeat it. I think it's very relevant to what's going on right now. We went to a meeting with a representative from a printer company who was pushing their products, and they said, that protection policy that you guys sell in your store for printers to your customers? And everybody just kind of said, yeah, and they sighed, because in many cases, you just feel like you're trying to push something on the customer that they don't really need. And I'm not saying that nobody needs it, but quite a few people don't. And some people had very limited budgets. And when you're being told that you should pressure someone into buying something that they can probably do without, it doesn't make you feel very good about the job that you're doing. Well, this representative said, look, take my word for it. I work for this company, and it is in the customer's best interest for you to sell them that protection plan. And, everyone just kind of looked at each other like, why would you say that your product needs a protection plan? Why would you tell people, hey, if you buy from our company, you should definitely pay for that extra, extended warranty, so that after whatever period of time the manufacturer's warranty expires, that the customer will still have some way to fix it. And, somebody asked that question, why would you recommend that for your own product? And this rep told us off the record that every year, this particular printer company would spend X million dollars on research and development to figure out a way to design a printer that will last about 13 months. Okay, so this is someone from that company saying, here's what we do. We build something to go just beyond the warranty period, and then we try to figure out ways for it to fail shortly after so that the customer will buy another printer. And the whole time I thought all the money was in ink, not printers. But to my surprise, they wanted to give people an incentive to upgrade their equipment after the warranty period expired. So she said, by all means, you're doing a favor for your customer to tell them to put a protection plan on that printer that they buy, which was really sad, and it made me never want to buy a printer from that company again. Now, on the other hand, not too long after that, I was speaking to the district manager of these stores that I work for, and she said, we really have to push to sell that protection plan because it is almost pure profit for the company. Now, what does that tell you? If someone says you should sell a protection plan to someone because it is virtually pure profit for you to sell it, well, that to me would say that not too many people are being paid out for that protection in one way or another. So, that was a bit discouraging to me as someone who's working in a store, and I'm telling employees, you have to push this plan, you have to sell this stuff, because basically what you're selling is air. You're not giving anything of value if in the long term it's almost pure profit. So to me that didn't make a lot of sense, and I became a little skeptical at that point. Now, about 2 weeks later, this just happened one after the other, boom, boom, boom. About 2 weeks later, we had a customer come in who had purchased a protection plan on her digital camera, had broken the camera, came into the store, was just irate because she had contacted the company who offers this protection plan that we sell, and they basically denied her claim, and they found some little loophole to disqualify her. And of course, if you've ever filed an insurance claim, you know that there is a certain amount of effort put in on the insurance company's part to find out if there's something that disqualifies you from them being able to pay out on your claim. Well, apparently they were very good at doing this, and as a person, I just felt so bad for this customer because she was mad at us because someone in our store sold, one of my employees sold her this plan to protect her device. She contacts the company that's supposed to be no hassles, no questions asked, and they tell her that they cannot do anything for her. So ultimately what we did is we ended up giving her another camera out of the store inventory. We adjusted it out, under the within the category of customer service. And really, there were some notes on there saying that we were just blown away. Like, how do you sell something and then you come back and tell someone that they don't qualify for it? Because there's one silly little thing in there that, again, in the fine print, I'm sure it was included somewhere in there. But if it's by design set up for you not to be able to recover that value that you think you're investing in that situation, I, couldn't really continue to sell that plan anymore. And for that reason and many others, I ended up leaving that company. So there are some people who have no problem sleeping at night no matter what they sell, but a lot of us don't feel like if some retiree comes in and is living on a fixed income that we should be pushing them into something that they really don't need. Okay, so I'm not equating this to the same thing that's going on with the phone insurance category, but just something to kind of think about. What people should really understand, obviously, before they enter these agreements is whether or not it's going to benefit them. And I'm sure that anyone who could see into the future would say, well, if my phone's never going to break, I'm not going to buy the insurance on it, right? And if it is going to break, I'm going to buy it 100% of the time. Well, since we don't know that, we need something to start with. And, just on a very personal level, when I talk to friends and family and anyone else who says, you used to work at this place, would you buy the protection plan? I think it really comes down to a pretty simple answer. How well do you take care of your things? When is the last time you dropped a phone and broke it? When is the last time that you felt like you were in a situation where there could potentially be a lot of damage to your device? Do you do that on a regular basis? Have you had your phone stolen before? Are you working in an environment where that's a huge risk? Because when you break it down to a certain extent, insurance is very similar to gambling. You are putting some money into something and hoping in the long term, I know they call it protecting, but really you're hoping that it'll pay out someday. You don't want to just spend money and never see any return on your investment. And it blows me away that they do the same thing on Wall Street. You put money in and you hope to get money out, but yet that's not gambling. But to a certain extent, I almost want to equate insurance to gambling in a way. And of course, what if your phone has a pre-existing condition, right? Are you then disqualified from insurance? Well, I would think so. If you contacted a wireless company and said, hey, my phone's not working right, can I get insurance on it? You'd probably expect them to say no, but I have seen some exceptions to that rule. Now they're offering an open enrollment at Verizon. I think it's until November 17th or so. So I'm not sure how that works exactly. If your phone in the past, if your phone worked well enough to call customer service, they could look up the serial number on your phone while you're connected to the carrier and determine whether or not you're actually talking to them on the phone that you want to insure. And if that phone was operational to the point where you could actually call them, they would let you put insurance on it over the phone, sight unseen. So I don't know if they're still doing that. I probably should try to get a Verizon rep to come on here so I could talk to them live. I don't want to call the store and ask them 20 questions, but I did do some research on their website. And, more importantly for us, at least some of the people that are on this live stream, is how will this affect people who are in the phone repair business? And that's the big one, because a lot of forums that I go on to, anytime something changes, people panic, but there's a valid concern for how this will affect people. And I have to say, overall, I think it might be good news, believe it or not. If Verizon partners with, it looks like they're going to continue working with Asurion. That's the company that underwrites, I believe that's the right term. That's the company that they use for their insurance on their devices that they sell. And if they decide to basically change their rate, which is what they've done, they've dropped the monthly access a bit on their insurance plans, it might for some people be a good investment. And I don't have any problem saying, this is, of course, I'd rather have you bring your phone to an independent repair shop, but I'm not sure that's not going to happen anyways for a number of reasons. So I want to show you a couple articles that I looked at here real quick. One of them, this is from BGR, and what they're saying is that Verizon's phone insurance might be better than Apple Care. Ooh, I know there's a shudder out there from any fanboys who might be watching because, nobody does anything as good as Apple does, right? Well, maybe they will. They might be able to give you a better deal and possibly even a faster response time if this thing goes according to plan. And what the rumors are that are going around, and it's probably more than a rumor now, but I really don't want to state anything that I don't know for 100% fact. But it appears as though Verizon will continue to offer this service in major cities. Now, what that means is that not coast to coast will you be able to go into Verizon and get your phone fixed the same day. But that was one of the crucial elements of being able to sell that insurance to their customer, is how soon can you get your phone fixed? And I think that's the question in everyone's mind. And when people come in to one of our stores and say, I just bought this new phone, I'm fixing this other phone, should I buy insurance from my carrier or should I buy Apple Care? And that usually ends up being kind of a long discussion because there are so many factors involved. But again, I've tried to boil it down to the simplest thing. How often do you break your phone and how much is it going to cost you? Well, with this new plan, or with this new transition in this plan that they're doing, you will pay, let me pull it up again because this was very confusing. I went to the Verizon website and I had a little trouble understanding exactly what they were saying, because this is from Droid Life and they're saying that it is now going to cost $29 if you have a cracked screen, and flat rate of $29 for the repair and $11 a month. And then when I went over to the Verizon site, I actually saw something different. Let's see if I can find it here. When I went to the Verizon site, where is my dollar amount? I swear they said $33 somewhere, and now I don't see it. So, as far as we can tell, it's going to be $29 a month. I'm sorry, $11 a month, and a $29 deductible. Now, that is probably going to work out slightly less than Apple Care or equivalent to, but there are probably a lot more Verizon stores than there are Apple stores, number one. And secondly, the way this has been explained is that not only will you be able to go to someone who's contracted by this insurance company, Asurion, but they may in fact send someone to your place of business or your home to perform the repair for you. Now, before anyone starts to think, I think the first place that anyone who was in the repair business's mind went was, oh, great, here comes more competition. Now we're going to have customers that are discouraged from coming to us for repairs because obviously inside the stores they're going to be pushing this big time. And I have to assume that T-Mobile and Sprint and AT&T will all follow suit and offer something comparable. And there's a huge advantage to being a wireless carrier with the customer standing in front of you and saying, hey, we'll just attach this extra fee to your bill every month rather than having to, sell something that's a standalone product, some sort of protection plan or insurance plan that people have to give you their debit card or their credit card number for, or banking account information or anything like that. It's a lot easier when you're in the store to add on those accessories and chargers and insurance plans and roadside assistance and all that kind of stuff. And there will almost definitely be some sort of incentive for the employees to sell that insurance plan. So how are we going to fight against that, so that we can stay in the repair game? Well, here's the thing. Asurion does not have, I'm pretty sure, does not have thousands of technicians or tens of thousands of technicians from coast to coast. And the rumor is that they will be approaching reputable phone repair businesses in order to contract this repair through them. And this answers my first question is, first of all, where are you going to find enough qualified technicians? Because we know, one, there are a lot of people who fix phones. And number two, there are a lot of people who do a very poor job of fixing phones. So the good news is that I hope that they're not just going to hire people off the street indiscriminately and then, on top of that, send them to some sort of training. What kind of training? I don't know. I've seen some good and some bad. I've seen people come out of training being very qualified and people coming out of training, and I think that they should go get their money back. So there's a big question as to, what process would one go to from start to finish if you don't already have experience. But the logical conclusion here is that Asurion will look for independent phone repair shops and seek out an agreement with them so that they can send their customers, wherever it happens to be in the U.S., directly to someone who's already is in business, is already doing a good job, has a great reputation, and has the parts on stock, which, that's another question. Can you use your own parts or will you have to use theirs? I don't really know the answer to that. I have a feeling that they are going to want to send you the parts and probably recover the old screens for refurbishing. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But that will be an interesting thing to happen. Of course, that just brings up even more questions. First of all, is it going to be profitable to perform repairs for Asurion? And if you turn them down and say, I'm not really satisfied with that margin, because obviously they will set the prices that they are willing to pay out per repair. If you decide not to do that repair, the question is probably going to be whether or not there is a qualified competitor in your area who says, well, if you don't want it, I'm going to take it, and then we have a different type of competition, people who are willing to work for less again. But remember, the thing about large corporations is that they tend to, at least to a certain degree, have some control over who, what type of quality is going into their product. So if they want to succeed, obviously, they want to have consistency from one repair shop to another. If you walk into McDonald's, you should be able to, your food should taste the same as if you walk into a McDonald's on the other side of the country. It should be the same product. So if Verizon and Asurion want this program to succeed, they have to have happy customers. And happy customers are people who get their phones back without a lot of problems. Now, I can't speak for right now because I haven't seen an Asurion repair for a very long time. And, a lot of things have probably changed. It could have gone one direction or the other. I know that in the very beginning, one of the first phones that I came in that was an Asurion refurb, it actually had the company logo attached to the back panel on it. Well, it was an iPhone 4 or an iPhone 4S. I'm not sure which one it was. And for that type of phone, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I will have to acknowledge that at that point in time when the iPhone 4 and 4S came out, there were a lot of technicians who struggled with those repairs. So the first time I saw one come in that had been refurbished and or repaired by Asurion because the customer came in with problems, I took a look at the inside and it was very easy to understand why they would not be happy with the quality that they got from that repair. Now, again, I'm not saying that would be the case today. This was a long time ago. This is back in the iPhone 4 days. So, hopefully things have changed a lot by then. But that's going to really be the question, I think, is that if you're going to pay $11 a month and a $29 deductible, what type of, product or what type of repair are you actually going to get from that? That's question number one. Number two is this, and I think we already know the answer. When it comes to iPhones, one of the more important things, and I'm not just going to talk about iPhones, obviously, but that's going to be a lot of what we see come in. It is kind of the core of the repair business at this point in time. When we see iPhones come in, whether they're iPhone 5, probably all the way up to the iPhone 8, I would imagine, is that usually, or quite often, when the screen is damaged, the frame is damaged also. And I have a feeling that this is probably going to disqualify a lot of people from paying for this $29 screen repair, and if you can imagine, when customers go to Apple and they've got Apple Care or whatever it is and their screen is cracked, that's one thing, but Apple takes a very close look at the frame and the other components in the phone and decide whether or not that phone is repairable in their opinion. And if that's going to be the same thing with the Shurion, I believe that we will probably see a certain percentage of customers who are not happy with the coverage that they get. If you take it to this shop or they send someone to your house or whatever and they say, oh, your frame's bent, we can't help you. That $11 a month you're paying or whatever it is, and the $29 deductible doesn't apply here, because now you have to get a complete new phone. And I need to look more into the details here. They do have some options for people who have lost, stolen, or damage other than screen repair. But I can tell you this, if someone comes into, whether it's Apple or a Shurion or anywhere else, if your phone is so damaged that the screen can't be repaired, you're not going to get a brand new phone. That is 100% across the board. You will get a device that has been repaired, has been refurbished, probably went through some quality control inspection points. But the bottom line is you're not getting your phone back, which means, number one, any data that's stored on that phone will not be any more recoverable than it was when you first broke it. So you'll probably have to be dealing with someone who is competent at extracting your data. If you have something like, touch damage to your touch IC or anything else that prevents the phone from operating normally, even if the screen is replaced. And secondly, you're going to be getting a phone with an unknown history. And this is the part that concerns me the most as a consumer and as someone in the repair industry. If I break my phone, it would have to be broken very badly for me to say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to pay a fee, give you my old phone and get another one that's been fixed, because I have no idea what the history of that other phone is. Secondly, my understanding here is that the warranty on that replacement phone, that refurbished phone, is going to be 90 days. So even if your phone was, within the manufacturer's warranty, which is now voided because of the physical damage, you will lose that original manufacturer's warranty, if I understand this correctly, which I'm pretty confident here that I've got this right. And you will now drop down to a 90-day warranty, which is realistic, because when you're dealing with refurbished phones, it's very difficult to put much of a warranty on them, because there is a increased chance of failure or problems developing over time. So, again, I try to make this as simple as an answer as I can to my customers when they ask me about getting this kind of coverage. But there are a lot of factors that go in here to this decision-making process. And obviously, only time is going to tell how this is going to affect the repair industry. But here's the light at the end of the tunnel, or, the bright side, if you want to call it that I see here. And that is all these low quality repair shops out there who don't do good work and don't do good, don't use good parts or anything like that. They will not be the places that any large corporation is going to approach and say, we want to do business with you under a contract arrangement or anything like that. So the people who are cutting corners and the people who are doing the cut rate prices and, this crazy competition that's willing to work for like $10 or something like that, it's going to be very difficult for them to survive in an environment like that. If we have carriers, sending customers to us because we're contracted through what the customer perceives as a legitimate insurance company, that is going to take care of a lot of people who are not doing a very good job. And I don't wish anything bad on anyone, but you get what you pay for, and you get rewarded according to the type of work that you do. And I think a lot of that may catch up to people if and when this whole thing catches on. Okay, so I had another couple of points I wanted to cover here real quick, and then I do want to take any questions you all may have. Thanks for waiting. I just wanted to make sure that I found out the one thing about live streams is that when people come and look at them later, they don't really want to watch the chat. They want to hear the information. So I wanted to get all that out as soon as possible and then save everything for the end and anything else that's going to be added on here. So let's see. Now, you may receive a replacement device from Asurion as soon as the next day. Now, as soon as obviously means your mileage may vary, or have a cracked screen repaired locally by an Asurion certified repair provider. Now, again, this could be a big opportunity for people in the repair business, but I think the downside and the people who may be left out by this will be anyone who's kind of working and doing good work, but not really through a storefront. So if you have a home-based business or you're meeting people by appointment and maybe you do just as good a job as anyone else in the business, I think it's going to be difficult to reach an agreement where you work. And I may be completely wrong on this because they are talking about sending technicians out to the customers, which again, this is another consideration if you're in the repair business. It may sound like a great deal to drive across town to replace a screen and make $50, but when you do the math and you look at what goes into making that happen, the time in between, and what I've been told is that Asurion will only allow you to book appointments for 2-hour intervals. So you have an appointment from 9 to 11, and then you have an appointment from 11 to 1. That's really going to limit the number of repairs that you can do specifically for under that contract if that's how it ends up working out. So I'd want to be in an area that had a lot of customers, real close together if that was my situation. But if all you're doing, and again, even if you're doing quality work, if you're doing it all through Craigslist ads or Google AdWords and you're driving by appointment or you're working out of your home, it's going to be a little more challenging, I think, to be involved in something like this. Okay, so I'll answer that in just a second. Michael, one sec. I think that, so there's one more thing that I wanted to mention here, and that is that I went to the Verizon page, and this is kind of funny. So if you don't have coverage, so if you don't have insurance with Verizon, and again, I would assume this will happen with most major carriers, they do give you an option. They allow you to buy a certified pre-owned device, including and limited to, at this point in time at least, on their website, an iPhone 6s or 6s Plus 16 gig, or you can buy a Kyocera Dura XV or 15, whatever that is, which is basically a flip phone. So if you're a customer and you don't have insurance, there are some options for you. Those options are an iPhone 6s and an iPhone 6 Plus, both 16 gig if you want a smartphone. That's it, at least as of today when I looked on their page. So, I'm sorry you don't have insurance. These are the two phones you can still buy while you're in contract. And by the way, that iPhone 6s will cost you about $300 some, and you can finance it for $13 a month for the next 2 years. So you're not completely left out in the cold. But, obviously, if something happens to that phone, you're still paying for that financing from here until whenever. I'll definitely follow up on this. I'm interested to see how it works out, how it goes over with customers. And I hope nobody's panicking because I really think that, ultimately this could be a good thing. My main concern really is what type of profit is going to be available through a program like this. If Asurion comes to your store or you contact them and say, hey, I want to do work for you, how much do you get paid? Because they're going to kind of determine that, especially if they're selling you the parts and setting their prices. Now, for people out there who have a store that is located near a carrier, I have a feeling that no matter what kind of push they put on the insurance in the store, if you're across the street from or next door to a wireless carrier, including Verizon, the customer's going to know about that. So right now might be a good idea for independent repair shops to start putting up some sort of signage or possibly even advertising that will address what they have to offer as opposed to the insurance that phone carriers are selling through their stores. So just something to think about. If you have a business and you're concerned about this affecting how much traffic is going to come into your store in the future, no better time to start than now to not only talk to the employees in the stores, find out what they're selling, how they're doing it, what it covers, etc., but also maybe bringing some visibility to what you offer to customers and, what sets you apart from them, and at least be prepared, in case we see this thing go through and all of a sudden, everyone's getting insurance on their phone, which I really don't think is going to happen. There will be an increase, obviously, if they're really pushing it, but, a certain number of people, I think, have an idea in the back of their mind that, yes, I need to put a protection plan on everything or insurance on everything, and others don't, and it's often difficult to convince them otherwise. So we'll see what happens. Michael Loftus, if I have any problem, how should I contact y'all? You can contact me here on YouTube. If you leave a comment on my channel, I'll do my best to answer it if I can. So there are some questions that I have trouble answering, and if you see the question and it's not answered, you can try answering again later. But if I don't have a response, I don't go through and say I don't know 1,000 times. Just like as much as I appreciate people watching my channel, when somebody says thank you, I don't go back and say you're welcome to every single one. You're all very welcome, and I thank you all for coming to my channel, and I'm glad you found it helpful. But getting back to that, you can contact me through YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or you can email me directly, mike@gocellphonerepair.com. I will do my best to answer any questions that I can. I can't really do all of the work for anyone. Obviously, there are a lot of questions coming in, but if it's something very straightforward and I can direct you to the right resource, I will do that whenever possible. So good luck. I hope that actually works out for you. Now, before I go into the answering questions, feel free to post them here on the chat. What I wanted to do was figure out on my live stream if I can actually see this chat separately, because I had an idea here. Let's see, pop out. What does this show me in the chat? It doesn't really show me much. I thought it would show me like who's in the chat. Let's see, participant. Oh, I guess it does. Oh, this is cool. Okay, now can I direct message? I guess I can't really direct message anyone who's in the chat, so that's not going to work. Oh well. I will come up with something. I wanted to do something here where I could say, hey, thanks for coming to the live stream. Here's what you get. But until I can direct message people on here, that's not going to work out. So I will save that for later. Real quick, if I can pull up some questions here. Let's see if we can add the browser and go to my channel. Thanks for being patient. This is the one part of this that I didn't have set up. I'm trying to make everything look a lot cleaner, neater, but I did not go in and prepare this segment, which will just take a second. I'm just going to put it in the browser and see if we can answer some questions for people on the channel. Where are you? All right, so let's add a browser source. All right, so that was kind of bizarre. I need to be over here. Hopefully you're still with me. I don't know what happened there. I went to add a browser source and it crashed the whole thing. So let's try that one more time and hopefully it doesn't quit. Okay, that's not the page I want. I want comments. Can we do it from here? Yes, we can. Okay, we just got it. What? Oh, that's not right. Well, I don't understand this because I'm logged in and it's saying, well, let's do it this way then. Can I add it as an image? I think I can. Let's go to screenshot. Should I play some music here in the background while I'm figuring things out? Okay, let's go to, no, this one right here. Will that open? Okay, I think I got it. Let's see if we can make this look a little better. Don't need all that stuff. I'm slowly figuring out how to use this software. All right, so questions, and by all means, if you have any, feel free to post them. And let's shrink this a bit more because you can't really see everything that I can. Okay. So, nice detailed video. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This video saved me a lot of money. You know, if I had a couple bucks for every time I heard that, I'm just kidding. Dude, your video is often awesome. But I have a suggestion. When you work on the screwdriver, explain which screwdriver is for the right place and with the right screw, Okay, and that is for the iPhone 5S board swap. So the suggestion is explain which screwdriver is for the right screw, and that's a good idea, and I will definitely do that in the future. Put a little more information behind which drivers I'm using. I do generally put the links to the product that I'm using in the video down in the video description, but rarely do people actually read those. So I will try to make that more prominent in the future. You have my word. Bobby, fantastic. Thank you. That's pretty funny. Bobby says fantastic twice. What version did YouTube introduce this feature? And she is talking about the fast forward when you double tap. I don't know if you've already seen that before, but if you double tap on your mobile device to the right or to the left on YouTube, it'll go 10 seconds forward, 10 seconds back on most phones, not all of them. What version did YouTube introduce this feature? Well, they introduced it back in about February, and as far as on iOS, I don't know if that made a difference or not. I think it was all within the app. So whatever you were running in February or whatever the latest iOS was back then, that supported it to the best of my knowledge. The strange thing is I have at least one phone that doesn't work on. I'll have to pull it up and see which one that is. Hey, Mike, I have a question. I repair phones myself. Where do you get... do you get your OEM cracked screens refurbished? Yes. And I get this question a lot from people who are in the repair business. Where's the best place to get parts? And so far, I think that if you have the option, the best thing to do is to refurbish them yourself. Obviously, not everyone is doing that yet. I think that may be happening in the future. And this is another thing where I really question, with insurance, is that most of us are realizing that phones are not that easy to refurbish anymore, and finding good parts is a challenge. So I don't know where they're going to find all these great parts to fix these phones that people have their insurance on. That's another question in my mind. What's the quality of these repairs? Not in the technicians, not the thing that the technician's doing, but the parts that he's using. Where are they coming from? What's the quality going to be like? I don't know. Do I have Instagram? I have Instagram. I have to say I don't use it very often. I probably need to spend a little more time understanding how Instagram works. And I want to say, if you give me a second, Michael, I'll pull it up right now and see if I remember my Instagram account, because honestly, I'm not even sure. Is it just going to be my name? I do have an Instagram account, and I think it is going to be... Yes, I do. It's called It's at Instagram.com/GoCellPhoneRepair. Obviously, all one word there. And feel free to check it out. There's not a whole lot there. I have been meaning to do more Instagram posting, but the thing is, with Instagram, as far as I can tell, it's really designed for mobile phones and photos. And most of the publishing that I do comes either from a camera over my desktop or from under a microscope, or a lot of things that I would prefer to edit before I post. And those pretty much look like you just take a picture and you post it on there. So I haven't used it a lot. I do plan on doing a little more in the future. Yeah, I can type it out. Let's see. I think if I can get into this chat, give me a second here. Actually, I can just copy it from the browser. One second. And let me go back to my chat. There has to be an easier way to do what I am doing right now. But pop out and go here and type it. And there you go. Okay, so yes, I can do that one. So with Instagram, it's kind of cool, and at the same time, I'm not sure how well it is suited for repairs, product reviews, the kind of stuff that I'm doing. But if I can find a way to make it work, I will. Obviously, that's a big deal now. Or should I just skip Instagram and go straight to Snapchat, or is there something else right around the corner that's going to be the big deal? I don't know. But Instagram, I think you can actually post videos that are up to like 60 seconds or something like that, which is pretty cool. But again, I've got to edit them down so that they'll fit into that 60-second time frame, which is challenging because usually when I make a video, they tend to be a little longer than that. Mike, I have a question on repair phones myself. Do you get them refurbished? I read that question already, didn't I? The answer is, if you're not refurbishing them yourself, hopefully you're in hopefully you're in an area where there's someone who does. So what we like to do whenever possible is we will generally find someone. The crazy thing is, it's not like you can go and look for these people. They will typically come to you if you have a retail store, and they'll say, hey, we refurbish screens. We'll pick up your old broken ones that still have good LCD or good AMOLED. We'll put new glass on it, and we'll bring them back to you, which is awesome because they come to your store, they inspect and test the parts right in front of you, so there's no question about whether or not they're working. They don't have to go through the mail. They're not getting shipped to China, at least not, from you. I think what happens is we hand our old stuff over to them. They bring us refurbished screens, and then they send those back to wherever they do their refurbishing at. So that's really preferred if you have that option. If you're, number one, refurbish yourself if you can, which is a big investment, and you've got to be able to justify buying the equipment that you're going to be using. And I think in the future, that's going to kind of be the way to go for a lot of people. We're going to have to start refurbishing, or at least have some sort of place that we can go locally and have our stuff refurbished instead of, just putting things in the mail and trying to order things from, across states and everywhere else. It's kind of crazy. And once again, brings to question to mind, how will Asurion or any other company who's doing these repairs, where are they going to get all these screens from, and what are they going to look like when they get installed? Third would be find a reputable supplier, and that's a difficult thing to do, and something I hesitate to really post anywhere, because from month to month or even week to week, these suppliers will sometimes do well and then not so well, and they come and go. There are some that are kind of preferred, and I'll try to pull up those names and put them in the video description also, like maybe the suppliers of the month that are working well. There's a very strange phenomena that happens, and I don't think it's really the distributors so much as it is the manufacturers, where we get this thing called quality fade. You start buying parts from a certain company, and you tell all your friends and everyone in the business, hey, you should go to these guys for your parts, and then a month or two later, they start sending you stuff that is substandard, and then nobody's happy. So it's really difficult to have a consistent way to go about that. This one really got me. LED table lamp supplier factory. I don't know what these guys are trying to say, but I made a video review about this little lamp, actually, that I have here, which I really use, believe it or not. I thought it was kind of goofy, just turned it on accident. But the main reason I use this thing is because it has a thermometer built into it, which, to my knowledge, there's still no phone that really has an accurate thermometer built into it. Why not? I don't understand. They have some things that will give you local weather and everything else, but if I'm sitting in this room right now and I want to know the temperature, the humidity, barometer readings, all that stuff, I don't know of an app that will do that. I don't think that there's a phone that has that capability. So it was kind of a cool little deal, even though I didn't think it was. These guys replied saying that they're a factory that specialize in producing LED table lamps. I went to their channel, clicked on the website link, and it goes to a blank page. So if you're trying to market your product, that's not a real effective way to go about it. All right, so back here to the chat, what do we have? If I drop, I have an iPhone 6. Will it will charge 0.7 amps and turns on. If I switch it off, will not switch back on. Charging drop to 0.3, battery 59%. Try Newport battery cable not recognized in iTunes. I hate to tell you, but it sounds like you have a problem with the charging system if you've already ruled out all of those other factors there. So that's what we'll typically do. If you obviously you've got an ammeter of some sort, so you're plugging this in, you're getting 0.7. Okay, so it's charging at 0.7 amps, turns on. If you switch it off, it will not switch back on, and the charging drops to 0.03. Yeah, it's if you switched out the battery already, and obviously the charging port is functional, but it's fluctuating or changing from one to the other, I have a feeling you have a charging system issue, and those can be difficult to track down. On the iPhone 6 in particular, it seems like historically those have been linked to either the U2IC or the Tigris, or both, and those are integrated circuits that are built into the logic board, and unless you're at the level of repair where you're removing and replacing those things, it's something you will probably have to take to a someone who is familiar with that. Now, if you have a multimeter and plenty of experience, you can go in there and start trying to track down where the problem is, but a lot of times I don't like to give those solutions like, oh, it must be this, because we really never know 100% until we do a thorough diagnosis. But there's a good possibility there's a problem with that charging system, and this does tend to happen a lot with iPhones when people use aftermarket lightning cables or charging blocks. So that would be my guess, not having any other information. You can go in and start probing around, check the schematic and see if you're getting voltages in the right places, start looking for bad components. But that would be my first guess. There's something going on in the charging system. And again, it often comes back to one of those two integrated circuits, which are not fun to change out, at least in my opinion. But there are people who enjoy that, I think. Instagram, I think, let's see. Is there more of this chat? It looks like it's getting cut off here. Can I get on the chat here and move this up? Why isn't this cooperating? There we go. Oh, that's it. Thank you later. Okay. All right, folks, that is it. I actually plan on making this a 20-minute live stream for a number of reasons, but again, I tend to go off at the mouth a little too long, so I'm going to cut this off for today. I will be back next week. While you're here, remember to hit the subscribe button. I look forward to this every week. Hope to see you then, and I've got some videos coming out this week, which I thought I had some stuff sitting around here for. Oh, including this, which I know you're going to say, what? Is this going to do this again? It's not. Okay, so I've got a fingerprint encryption USB I'm going to be checking out. Yes, from the guy who does not believe in putting his fingerprint or his face recognition or anything else like that into a phone, and I'll explain why this is going to be an exception to the rule. I'll be checking that out. I've got some more repair videos coming out. I did have a conversion that was going to happen, but they sent me a crappy part, so you may get to see some of that too. Thanks, Gonzalo. Appreciate it. 100%. Good to see you all here. I will see you next week, same time, Monday, 2 p.m. Pacific. And until then, have a great one.